404-872-0750. All right, during the Carathon, we got the breaking news that there was a plea in the Appalachia High shooting. Joining us live in studio, WSB Radio legal reporter Veronica Waters. Hello, Verwat. Good morning.
Hello, 19.
I was always under the assumption that Colt Gray would plead guilty. It came to fruition. My reasoning behind it was his father's facing charges. If I'm a son, and I know they had a weird relationship, but I would make a plea agreement to keep my dad out of jail. Is that what happened, or do we not know what happened yet?
You know what? I'm so glad you brought that up because I have been thinking about you ever since this Colt Gray sentencing hearing began.
Yeah.
When we heard the interview with him right after the shooting, it was like within 30 minutes, just minutes after the Appalachia shooting when he was arrested there in the hallway. He was talking to the Barrow County Sheriff's investigator, Jason Smith, about the fact that he knew his dad was going to be shocked, how he had texted his dad like 5 minutes before to say, I love you.
Yeah.
How his father had tried to hide the gun from him, that he had told his father that something was wrong or he felt, some kind of terrible way. And he told his dad to hide the gun and how hard he had to look to find the gun and all these different things that you and I talked about before Colin Gray's trial even began. It was really as if Colt was trying to take any possible blame away from his dad, Colin Gray.
And Colin was charged and convicted.
Yes.
So once that conviction came down, I doubled down and said, well, there's going to be a plea deal. What son wouldn't want to prevent his dad from going to jail? But we don't know yet, or he just pled guilty. And, I was listening to your coverage of it and watching the coverage of it. And there was no negotiation with the prosecutors, right? I'm guilty. Let's just go straight to sentencing.
You are literally throwing yourself at the mercy of the courts.
Yeah.
It's a non-negotiated plea. There was no possibility. The death penalty was off the table because he was too young at the time. He was 14. And I'm sure the prosecution is asking for life without the possibility of parole. So their only choice here is to try to get the judge to find that he can be rehabilitated at some point. And we're hearing today from a psychologist who worked with Gray, Dr. Kevin Richards, who's talking about what Colt Gray actually has experienced in his life and why his tumultuous upbringing led to the not the self-diagnosis that Colt was giving himself, like I have mania, I have schizophrenia, none of that, but the depression, the anxiety, the PTSD, and then his obsession in the true crime community, which sort of culminated to lead to all of this kind of this violence here. And so they're hoping, as he's told the judge already, when you have someone whose brain is this young and unformed, because they don't stop forming until mid-20s, like 26 or so, right? There is an opportunity here for rehabilitation. There's an opportunity where you can get this person on the right track. He said he didn't have like an antisocial disorder because of something wonky, for lack of a better, it was because he just had this adverse upbringing, and it made him antisocial, interpersonally antisocial, but not psychotically antisocial.
At the end of the day, it's on the judge, though, to determine sentencing.
It's all on the judge.
Yeah.
It's all on the judge. And a lot of people are talking about that murder automatically in Georgia carries a life without parole. A life sentence. And it's usually whether it's going to be with parole or without parole. But can keep in mind that pleading guilty to 55 counts with charges including aggravated assault, there's battery, there's first-degree child cruelty. There is potentially the possibility we could see the judge stack these sentences one on top of the other, or he could make them consecutive. We don't know how many. Sometimes these charges may fold into each other, but life with or without parole, honestly, may be just the bare minimum of what the judge has to consider. He might have an opportunity to add on more years on top of that.
Well, we'll see what happens. After the Colt Gray guilty plea, did we get reaction from the victims' families? Are they okay with this? Did they want this to go to trial? Are they relieved it's not going to trial?
I believe they're relieved it's not going to trial because they don't have to relive it quite the same way. And I think I told you this before. I believe that was why they had Colin Gray's trial, because they wanted to have an opportunity for all of us really to sort of see how this played out. I will say there have been plenty of surprises, though, in the Colt Gray sentencing hearing, as we saw things from his notebook, sketches and writings and things where he seemed to be planning step by step how he was going to do this and sketching out a little stick figure shooting bullets, or little stick figures with X's over their eyes on the ground, and sketches of Nicholas Cruz, and talking about how Nicholas Cruz was the love of his life. That was the school shooter in Florida. A lot of surprises here. We didn't know about this, but this notebook was lying open on Colt Gray's desk that day in school.
Are we going to hear victim statements? And I'm assuming they don't want parole as
They
a
have.
possibility.
They did make victim impact statements after Colt Gray's guilty plea initially. It was so interesting. Two of the people, especially Mason Skirmerhorn's relatives, his mother and one of his sisters in particular, were talking about the compassion that they sort of felt for Colt Gray, knowing about his childhood and the way that his family just didn't get him any help when they could have. But said, this does not mean that I excuse what he did. He could have gotten help, and Mason would have been the person who would have befriended him in school if he hadn't been killed.
I didn't recognize Colt Gray when he came into court. He looked a lot different than the last time we saw him, or after he was first arrested.
I think his appearance has changed every time we've seen him come in court. Of course, when he was first arrested at 14, he had his hair dyed that bleach blonde. With the dark roots, and was a shaggy cut. And over time, those haircuts have changed. Now his hair is very short. He's, in a blazer and tie for the first time we've seen him in court. He looks, like a typical kid his age.
It was unrecognizable. It's like, that's what he looks like now. Veronica Waters joining us live in studio. Timeline on when we're going to get a resolution, when the judge might issue his sentence.
I would anticipate that this is going to wrap up today. It was originally envisioned as a 2-day hearing, both for him and for his dad, Coley Gray, which is going to come on Thursday. They scheduled also 2 days possibly for his sentencing hearing for his second-degree murder conviction. So again, I expect that the judge will probably have a decision later this afternoon.
Okay, so keep it tuned here. Veronica's monitoring the court situation. Updates as soon as that happen. We'll certainly break in on the Colt Gray sentencing. Final quick question, Veronica. Colt's mom, have we heard from her? Has she been in the courtroom? Do we know anything about?
I do not know if she's in the courtroom because I'm covering remotely. I haven't heard anybody talk about her there. You remember that she testified at her husband's trial. We've been hearing some jail phone calls between her and her son, where they continue their conversations about school shooters, and as they had before he actually got arrested. Yeah. Now, a lot of people ask me why she was never charged here, and the prosecutor said that was because she didn't have primary custody of Colt Gray.
Yeah.
But she knew of his interest in school shooters. They would talk about them from time to time. They would watch these things. She, on the stand, said, "I just thought it was just an interest in true crime, like a lot of people have an interest in true crime."
That's huge. True crime is absolutely huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
All right, Veronica, thank you so much for the in-depth there. It broke during the Carathon. I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I knew I have you as a resource. The listeners have you as a resource to do
Always.
it. So Veronica expects to hear from the judge at some point this afternoon. You'll, of course, hear it live on 95.5 WSB. Hey,